Hello everyone and welcome back to my Warhammer 40k guides. I am Brady and today I will be giving you the top 10 armies of August. August still isn't over yet, but all of the GTs and majors during August have already taken place with their results finalized, so I have all the information needed in order to make this video. For those of you who are new around here and don't know how this list works, I take all of the top 3 placings from every grand tournament and major event during the month of August, and whatever armies made the top 3 more often get the higher spots on the list. If any armies are tied, the tiebreaker I use is how high their placing was on the previous list. As for determining factions, since a lot of lists are a combination of multiple factions, I determine the main faction of a list by seeing which faction had the most points spent on it, and everything else in that list is just considered allies. So with that said, before we get into the main content of this video was brought to you by themagnetbaron.com. They offer magnets of all shapes and sizes, they offer magnetized army trays, magnetized flight stands, and even offer fully built magnetized models, all for a great price. So if you were looking at getting any magnets for your hobby, then check out themagnetbaron.com. A link will be in the description. Now with that said, let's get into the content you came here for, and let's talk about the top 10 armies of August. Number 10. Deathwatch. That's right, Deathwatch has made it into this month's top 10, coming in at number 10 with one top 3 placing during the month of August. The list used is an elite list featuring a bunch of intercessors and an inceptor in each squad, since Deathwatch can combine different models to make a single unit. So in this case, this player decided to basically treat his Primaris like you would regular Marines and upgraded one of them to have special or heavy weapons, which in this case is the Inceptor. This way you can keep that model alive longer by picking to kill off the intercessors instead, so your opponent can't ever directly target the Inceptor directly, and so they have to chew through 9 intercessors to actually kill the model that they want to kill. In lists that I've messed around with, I've done the same thing, but I put a Hellblaster in instead of an Inceptor, but I actually like this player's choice better. This list also features some Blood Angel allies like most Imperial armies, since Smash Captains are really good value for their points, and also the Scouts give a bit of screening and area denial against enemy infiltrating units. This player also opted to bring a Knight detachment with a Gallant and 2 Armigers, which is pretty self-explanatory. Knights are pretty good right now since the release of their codex. Overall, I'm happy the Deathwatch was able to make it into the top 10 this month. It should make a lot of Deathwatch players happy to see that it is possible to do well at events with the army. Number 9. Craft Worlds. The Vanilla Eldar come in at number 9 this month, with one top 3 placing during the month of August. This list was pure Lay talk, and they brought 2 battalions and a flyer detachment. In the flyer detachment, he used 3 Crimson Hunters, which are very good in a Lay talk, since they are a natural -1 to hit from the hard to hit rule, but gain another -1 because of a Lay talk, meaning these flyers are -2 to hit from more than 12 inches away, which is pretty good. And because of their long-range weapons, they can almost always stay out of the 12-inch range to keep themselves at a -2 to shoot at them. One battalion has 3 units of Rangers, Knight Spear, and a Warlock Conclave. The other battalion has an Autarch, a Farseer, 3 units of Dire Avengers, and 3 Wave Serpents. Overall, I think this list is really good, and I say this every month, but I am glad that Craft Worlds are still making top 10, even though it seems the Inari variant is much more consistent in topping events. Number 8. Death Guard. The Sons of Mortarion are back in the top 10 this month, this time coming in at number 8 with one placing during the month of August. This player opted to not post their list though, so I can't really give you the list or talk about it. So instead, I will quickly talk about what makes Death Guard so good. Everything in the army is extremely durable. Everything comes with a 5-up feel no pain and a decent toughness. They have demon vehicles that are extremely fast for being Nurgle and can pack a decent punch, because although they don't have the best ballistic skill, they normally take flamers that don't require hit rolls and instead auto hit, which gets past their not so good ballistic skill. Mortarion is a really good unit as well. He hits like a truck, and if your opponent doesn't deal with him very early, he can quickly win the game for you pretty much by himself. He's also insanely durable with a 4+ invul and being toughness 7, but he also has a 5-up feel no pain like the rest of the army, and you can cast a spell on him that makes him -1 to hit. Overall, the army is really good mainly because of its resilience. In fact, you could say the army is disgustingly resilient. Number 7. Carey. That's right, Carey has fallen from grace. They are still in the top 10 this month, but with only one placing during the month of August, and because of tiebreakers, they beat out the other armies with only one placing, because Carey was doing very well in the past top 10s for a few months. I've had some controversy surrounding my channel and my opinions on the army ever since I've claimed that Carey wasn't overpowered. But I only took that stance because I truly felt that way, and I've stated that I think the main reason they were doing so well was because people weren't bringing the right units or weaponry to deal with them in the past few months. I've also said that the meta just had to take some time to adjust to Drukhari, and because it now has, we aren't seeing Drukhari dominate nearly as much as they once were. People are now bringing units and weapons in their list that are good against Drukhari. For example, there is a list I will be talking about soon that is spamming autocannons, and I'm assuming the reason for this was to help kill Venoms and Ravagers since it's very good and counters them very well. The -1 AP from the autocannons means it's not wasting any AP value since the Drukhari vehicles have a 5+ invul and a 4+ save, meaning -1 makes you go up to their invul and you're not wasting any more AP. And the 2 damage a shot means you only need 3 shots to go through to kill a Venom. And then the Cabalates that get out die to pretty much anything with a bolt gun or las gun. Literally nothing changed about the Drukhari. There were no nerfs of any kind, no changes from Games Workshop in the past few months, yet they aren't doing nearly as well as they once were, and they are no longer dominating. And I think this is due to the reasons I just mentioned above, but also because the army isn't that new anymore, and people are ready for the shenanigans that Drukhari can pull off, like Agents of Ect. So good players can play around Agents of Ect, like Devin stated in my interview with him, which you can watch on the channel. Anyways, that's my little rant. Rant is over. Let's take a look at the list that actually topped. It's a battalion of Prophets of Flesh, since that is the best coven according to statistics, and also a spearhead detachment of Blackheart, which is pretty much a staple at this point for any Drukhari army. Mainly because the vehicles work really well in Blackheart because it gives them a 6-up feel no pain, but also because it gives you access to the Agents of Ect stratagem. I'll leave it at that though, since I've already talked enough about Drukhari, so let's move on to the next army. Number 6, Thousand Sons. The Sons of Magnus are back this time around, just slightly beating out their Death Guard brethren with 2 placings during the month of August. The first list I'd like to talk about features Magnus, the Primarch of the Thousand Sons, Ahriman on a Disc of Tzeentch, and 3 Demon Princes of Tzeentch, followed up by a bunch of Chaos Demon allies. Thousand Sons are probably the best psychic army in the game right now, since the army can smite freely with no penalties. That's right, Thousand Sons do not suffer the -1 to cast smite for each consecutive smite, so smite spam is alive and well as long as you're using Thousand Sons. All of the characters are also pretty good in close combat alongside being able to smite, so they use demons as a screen to get up close and personal with the enemy and smite away and charge some good targets. Magnus himself is great as well. He is the strongest psyker in the game with having a d6 damage smite without having to roll more than 10 when casting, and when he does roll more than 10, he gets 2d6 damage. He also hits insanely hard in close combat and can almost one-shot anything in the game including knights since he is strength 16 and wounds almost everything in the game on 2s. The other list is basically the same except replace Chaos Demons with Alpha Legion and Black Legion. This list makes great use of Abaddon since he makes all Heretic Astartes units within 12 inches fearless, meaning the cultists from Black Legion and Alpha Legion are fearless when within 12 inches of Abaddon. If anyone remembers fearless conscripts dominating the early meta of 8th edition, well, that's back now, but it's with Chaos and Abaddon. Number 5, Chaos Space Marines. The Chaos Loyalists, also known as the Alpha Legion, are back in the top 10 this month with 2 placings overall during the month of August, and because of tiebreakers, they received a higher spot than Thousand Sons. The first list used a battalion detachment of Alpha Legion with 2 Demon Princes and 3 blobs of cultists, probably making use of the infiltrating stratagem with at least 1 or 2 of these blobs of cultists because it makes a very good alpha strike if they happen to go first. They also use some Nurgle Demon allies with a Plague Bearer bomb that most likely deep strikes in to get up the board much quicker, since they are really slow when compared to most models. They also use some Nurglings for enemy infiltrating denial, and also for objective holding. Epitomis is there for some buffs for the Nurgle stuff, and some Beasts of Nurgle for a fast and beefy unit that can lead the Alpha Legion Demon Princes in the battle. The second list is also very unique, and brought a battalion of Alpha Legion with a Chaos Lord and Sorcerer as the HQs, 3 units of Cultists with 2 being 10-man and 1 being a 40-man blob, most likely for infiltrating and Alpha Strike, some Noise Marines, which haven't really been seen in any top list, but thinking about it, these guys would actually be pretty decent in infiltrating as well as a Suicide unit to Alpha Strike with, 2 units of Havocs with autocannons, which is what I was talking about before when talking about Drukhari, and a unit of Obliterators, which would all make use of Veterans of the Long War and Endless Cacophony stratagem. Combine that with Prescience from the Sorcerer, and you have yourself some really damn good combos. The rest of the list has a Spearhead detachment of some Chaos Guard or Renegades with 3 Basilisks to help deal with the Night meta, and a Supreme Command of Thousand Sons for Psychic support and also for some free smites. Overall, I really like the second list and would love to play this list myself since I love playing my Red Legion as Alpha Legion. Number 4, Chaos Demons. The Demons of Chaos make it into the top 10 this month at the 4th spot, with 4 placings throughout the month of August. And it's not all Nurgle demons this time. Almost every Chaos God makes an appearance on all of these lists. There was a list that was mainly Khorne demons, a list that was mainly Tzeentch demons, and 2 lists that were mainly Nurgle. The Khorne list used 3 Bloodletter bombs, and I'm assuming he made use of the upgraded banner stratagem to give them all a 3d6 charge. And this is even better than the Blood Angel's 3d6 charge in my opinion, because it's a pre-game stratagem. So you can use it multiple times, but then when it comes to the actual deep strike, you can bring all 3 blobs in on turn 2 and still get a 3d6 charge on all 3 in the same turn. Whereas for Blood Angels, you can only use the stratagem Descent of Angels once a turn, meaning if you brought 3 deep striking units and want to use the 3d6 stratagem on all of them, you'd have to bring them in one at a time, one on turn 1, one on turn 2, and one on turn 3, which means it would be very slow, and also the one that has to come in on turn 1 would have to come in your own deployment zone. But for Khorne demons, they can just all run at you on turn 2 if they want to. The rest of the Khorne list had some Thousand Suns allies and some Nurgle demon allies. Thousand Suns for psychic support, and the Nurgle units for great resilient objective holders. As for the Nurgle demon list, they were all pretty close, using Plague Bearers, Demon Princes, and other demon units, and one even used a Lord of War Nurgle demon. And for the Tzeentch list, it had a Lord of Change, some horrors including a blob of pink horrors, and some flamers. They also used 3 units of Bloodletters in that list as well. So now, before we get into the top 3 armies of August, let's give some honorable mentions. Here's a list of the honorable mentions, and these armies placed either 4th or 5th, meaning they just barely didn't make it into the top 3 and onto the top 10 list. So we have Tau using the Tau Sept with 3 placings, Tyranids with 2 placings, Black Legion with 1 placing, Admech with 1 placing, and Harlequins with 1 placing. So if you play any of these armies, don't feel bad because they are still doing well, just not top 3 doing well. All of these armies placed either 4th or 5th at events that had 30 to 100 people, so in my opinion it's still a very good showing overall. Now let's get into the top 3 armies of August. Number 3, Imperial Knights. Everyone knew it, Knights seem to be really strong and starting to do consistently well. With 4 placings during the month of August, and because of tiebreakers, they come in at number 3. The Castellan Knight seems to be the most popular choice, with Warden, Gallant, and Crusader Knights as the fillers for the other 2 slots in the detachment. The army is always accompanied by Astro Military allies to get another cheap 5 command points in the list alongside the best command point battery in the game. And sometimes they were also accompanied by Blood Angel allies as well. And in one of the 4 lists, there were actually Sisters of Battle in the list as well. Knights can also make great allies if you don't want to use them as your main force. A Castellan by himself is still very good because you can pay to make him your second warlord, give him the trait that gives him a 4+ invul, and then use the stratagem every turn that gives him a 3+ invul, making him a super resilient model. Overall, I think Knights are good, but I do think that the meta will shift to counter them just like it did for Drukhari. You have to remember, when a new army is released, it becomes the flavor of the month like Drukhari once was. But after people learn how to deal with it and the bandwagoners drop off, it's only the dedicated players left. So right now, I assume we have an absurd amount of Knight players just because it's a brand new and exciting army. And also because it's relatively cheap and easy to build a Knight list. You can buy a Castellan and a Renegade box which comes with 2 Knights for around $400, and then add another battalion of Guard for $200, and 3 Blood Angel Captains for $50 if you buy the Vanguard Veterans box and convert them. It's one of the cheapest armies to make, and it's brand new, which is why I think it's probably the most popular army right now. So give the meta time to adjust, and I can almost guarantee that Knights will fall out of favor in a few months. Number 2, Inari. My most disliked faction in the game is in the top 10 yet again. This time at number 2 with 4 placings beating out Knights because of the tiebreakers. Each Inari list was basically a cut and paste of each other, give or take a few units, with Cat Lady being the go-to model for the Inari HQ choice with units of Dark Reapers, Rangers, and Shining Spears. I personally think that the Soul Burst mechanic needs to be changed, otherwise we will continue seeing Inari in the top 3 for a very long time. I personally feel that the Soul Burst mechanic is too strong and needs to be changed yet again, but that's only my personal opinion. Number 1. The best army of August goes to Astro Military. The Guard are back in top form with 5 top 3 placings in the month of August. There was 2 Cadian lists, a Tallarn list, and 2 Catachan lists. The first Cadian list was a generic Cadian list, lots of mortars and infantry with some Blood Angel allies, but they also included Sisters of Battle as well, which actually complement Guard very well just like Blood Angels do. The second Cadian list featured a brigade of Cadians with 6 squads of infantry, 4 basilisks in units of 2, a Hydra, some scout sentinels, and some astropaths, which I assume buff the infantry squads that combine together. It also had some Blood Angel allies, just like most guard lists do, alongside one of the super heavy guard tanks, which was Talarn for the stratagem. The Talarn list brought 3 of the super heavy tanks alongside a bunch of troops for objective holding. And like I said, the infantry are mainly just for board control and grabbing objectives. They also brought some Blood Angel Smash Captains along as well because, again, Blood Angels are amazing to complement Astro Military. And the Catachan list didn't opt to share their list on Best Coast Pairings app, which is where I get all these lists from, so I can't really talk about the list themselves. But I can say that they probably included a bunch of infantry and mortars, Strachan, a few to a lot of Hellhounds, since they counter most of the meta pretty damn well, throw in some Basilisks in there as well to deal with Knights, and you'd have a pretty good Catachan list. Well anyways, that's going to be it for this month's top 10. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Warhammer 40k content. And if you want to help support the channel even further, you can check me out on Patreon. For a pledge of $5, I offer a Discord channel for my patrons where I can give you basic coaching and also help you with list building. We have a great community going with around 80 people who love the game just as much as you. And they also love discussing the game as well, so if you ever want to just chat about Warhammer 40k with some people, you can do so in that Discord channel. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, or if you just feel like donating to help me continue making Warhammer 40k videos full time, then check out the Patreon link in the description. Anyways, thanks for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Happy wargaming!